Hi everyone, my name is Dustin Simmons. I'm an Indiana State University LPN to BSN student, and this is my presentation on veteran suicide. Before we get started, can you please go to the pretest and complete that briefly? These are this course's enabled learning objectives. If you can just take a moment to review these before we get started. In 2018, there were a total of 6,435 veterans that committed suicide. That accounted for 13.8% of all suicides that occurred in 2018. This number was slightly lower than in 2017, which accounted for 14.1% of suicides. Total veteran suicides per day were about 17.6, which was slightly higher than from 2017. From the most recent data, 59.6% of veterans that committed suicide had a coexisting mental illness, and 58.6 per 100,000 veterans that committed suicide either had a substance abuse or disorder or a mental health disorder. Veterans that had depression that committed suicide were at a rate of 66.4 per 100,000, which was an increase from the 2017 data. It also shows that veterans with an anxiety disorder also have a suicide rate of 67 per 100,000, which is also increased from the 2017 data. As many of you may know, being in the military poses especially daunting challenges. Individuals in the military often are at increased risk for developing mental health issues such as PTSD, anxiety, and depression. They are faced with multiple deployments, especially if they've served within the last 10 years or so. And oftentimes, because of those challenges listed above, they may develop alcohol or drug abuse to deal with those issues. And also, on top of all of that, they often have difficulty gaining access to mental health facilities and to get treatment for their mental health issues. Soldiers in the military face unique challenges when trying to gain access for mental help. These barriers often include difficult work schedules, which on top of their regular jobs, they have extra duties and extra classes that they need to take for promotion points on top of PT standards that they need to uphold. So time becomes a very, very difficult thing to work with. They also have extra duties, which we just kind of covered a little bit. There's also deployments, which often are upwards of a year. And when they're not actively deployed in country, they're usually at the U.S. gearing up for another deployment. And on top of all that, there's also the negative stigma that is associated with getting help for your mental issues. Being in the military is a very macho atmosphere, and because of that, individuals that are seeking help are often ridiculed or poked fun at for gaining help. I just want to quickly go over some signs of an impending suicide. If an individual is normally very sad or has generally been very sad and you suddenly see them shift very drastically to a very happy emotion, that can be a sign of an impending suicide. If they start giving away some of their possessions, especially prized possessions, that's another sign. Also, if they start making suggestive statements such as, the world will be better off without me, or so-and-so will be better off without me, that's another very large sign. And also if they are making very drastic efforts to gain access to lethal measures. So if they are going out of their way to buy a firearm or something of that nature. That's another very big sign. What should you do if you do come across a person who you suspect of thinking about suicide or being suicidal? Is ask them directly, are you thinking about killing yourself? Ask if they have a plan to complete their suicide. And then escort them to the nearest healthcare facility. The military has a nice little acronym that they use for that. It's called ACE, Ask, Care, and Escort. But one thing that you can always do is listen. Just listen to that individual. Don't blow them off. Don't take their threats lightly. Some resources that are available to all veterans are the VA hospitals. There are numerous VA hospitals located in every state. Usually they're around larger cities, but they are available, and they all have mental health services. They have mental health counseling and group, anything that the veteran may need. There's also non-VA organizations such as the Vet Center. They also provide mental health services to veterans such as counseling or group. For veterans that may be contemplating suicide and have difficulty reaching out to the VA or the vet centers or any other organization that can help, civilian or military, there's always the Veterans Crisis Line, which is 1-800-237-8255, or 1-800-237-TALK. And that's available for veterans to call, so they have someone to talk with and someone to support them and be there for them. All of those resources are 100% free, meaning they will not charge the veterans for using those resources. Veterans face unique challenges that increase their risk for both suicide and mental health problems. The VA and Vet Center, and also the VA Crisis Intervention Line, provide veterans with counseling services or group or just whatever the veteran may need to assist them in dealing with their mental health problems. In the last few years, the VA has increased their efforts in assisting veterans with their mental health problems, and that will only continue to grow and continue to ramp up until we are starting to see major changes in the rates of veteran suicide and mental health. Thank you for your time.